Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Coppa Bernochi. We're in northern Italy and Legnano on a beautiful day. 186 kilometres starting in Parabiago, and it's the second of the three races that make up the Trittico Lombardo. Well, a big one today. Some big names here as well. The likes of Wout van Aert around as well. Some huge names have turned up. All of the stuff going on in the background, of course, over the weekend. Fusion or not fusion. Transfers, who to, when, where. Well, we're going to find out over the next week. But over the course of the next week, we are now on the countdown. Brian Smith's alongside me, Rob Hatch. And the countdown, of course, is to the Giro di Lombardia, the final monument of the season. Before we get there, let's start with the Coppa Bernochi.
E Stefano Garzelli. Immagini che ci giungono da Legnano, sede d'arrivo della Coppa Bernochi, 104esima edizione della gara, che è la seconda del Trittico Lombardo. Qui la cartolina della città dove ci fu la famosissima battaglia nel Medioevo e la Lega Lombarda riuscì a... La poesia del Carducci, Giosuè Carducci, il Parlamento, sta Federico Imperatore in Como, e ogni anno a fine maggio viene rievocata
This was the scene this morning in Parabiago. Some big teams signing in. Top level and second division as well. Got a couple of third division squads turning up today. But it's Q36.5, a pro team from the second division with a couple of Italian stars. The likes of Gianluca Brambilla, close to home roads. And of course, they were racing at home the other day in Emilia. Here they are, Green Project Bardiani. Enoch Mulbrahan, the only non-Italian. He's the African champion. He's heading for very big things next season, moving to the World Tour. As you can see, an absolutely gorgeous day for it. Very warm temperatures still in Europe. Francesco Gavazzi coming to the end of his career. A few other retirements, of course, very big ones coming up this week. On Saturday, we'll wave goodbye to Thibaut Pinot. Nothing in this team. Of course, it's the rumours and talk about who might be heading to this team that are exciting people at the moment. Bora Hansgrohe signing in, led by the likes of Bob Jongels. Here is Movistar. Look out for Ivan Garcia Cortina trying to hold on if there's any attacks towards the end. He's been racing really well recently. We know he has a fast turn of speed. Ado Marcher here with Rui Costa. Grand Tour stage winner, the wily old fox again at the Vuelta a España. Nicolo Bonifacio riding one of his final races for the team before he moves to Corotec in the winter. Lidl Trek success yesterday off-road. How will it go on the road for Giulio Ciccone and his band of merry men? Astana, Kazakhstan. Well, they've had the Italian champion racing for them in the last few days. He gets the day off today, though. Davide Martinelli is back in the team for what could be a smaller group finishing. Davide Cimola is here as well. Harrison Wood for Cofidis and Jonas Aguirre, a man to look out for who likes this circuit. Of course, his brother certainly does. He was a winner here a few years ago in the rain. Alpecin de Koenig bringing a varied team. Grand Tour stage winner Stefan Oldani. Axel Laurence, of course, who pulled on that under-23 rainbow jersey not so long ago. Jaco Alula with a very, very special rider in Michael Matthews. Parkour like this could be right up his street. Of course, it all depends on how it's ridden. Harper's been in fine form as well. Rested for today is Simon Yates. As you deserve, been there or thereabouts without taking the big wins recently. Larry Warbass is back in action. And here is Thibaut Pinot. All the focus on him at the weekend, but today we wave goodbye to Mathieu Ladanius, who turns up for what is his final race of a long career. The 38-year-old waves goodbye to his fans today. He's alongside the French champion as well. And it will be party time for Groupama FDJ. It's worry time for many at Soudal Quickstep. Perhaps not so much for the big stars, but all the uncertainty around the team Will it happen? Won't it? What will happen? On the road, they'll be trying to do their best, of course, with Julien Alaphilippe, the former world champion on 2 occasions, leading the squad. And for Jumbo-Visma, maybe there's a little less stress, certainly for stars like Wout van Aert. Jan Tratnik's here, alongside Tish Benoot as well. And it's the start of a 4-day working week in Italy for Wout van Aert. 3 road races, plus the Gravel World Championships on his menu.
Della classifica punti al Giro d'Italia, vincitore della coppa bernochi 94 è colombiano.
UAE Emirates have been in fine form. Formolo back to winning ways the other day in the first of the Trittico Lombardo. Today they bring Box, Molano and several other riders. So that's the lineup. What are they taking on? 104th edition of the Coppa Bernochi in northern Italy, in Lombardy, where we will finish the monument season on Saturday. This one beginning in Parabiago and heading to Legnano. As usual with these midweek races in autumn in Italy, it's about local laps. And they come in the middle of the race. 16.8 kilometers per circuit, 7 times around the circuit, including the climb to Caramamma, locally known as the Piccolo Stelvio. Not quite as monstrous as the real thing. The name certainly has a ring about it, doesn't it? At the end of the circuit, it's falls flat downhill with a couple of lumps and bumps, finishing in Legnano on the main road, as it has done for a long, long time. (186.6 kilometers then. And this was the scene at the start as the local cycling club got its chance, having organised the race, to roll out. Those black and red jerseys you see at the front, the Legnanese. All the focus yesterday on Total Energy and a wave goodbye to Peter Sagan. There's a moment for pause and reflection here. Final check that everything was ready. Formolo in fine form. And this was the start. Kilometre 0 from a standing start. And the first attacks would soon come. Alessio Cialone try to get out there. And he'd soon be joined by Sylvain Moniquet, big name out there in the breakaway. The man who's just come off, of course, the Vuelta a España. Larry Warbash would make it on return as well. Floris de Tier in the break. And fairly quickly, it seemed like everybody was happy. Seven riders got up there. We were quickly down to 6. And the 6 riders who made the main break of the day were Laurie Warbash, the former American champion in the white jersey there and brown shorts, alongside Floris de Tier of Bingo Wallonie Bruxelles. Sylvain Moniquet was there for Lotto Destiny. Michael Belleri for BS Carrera. Jefferson Ruiz for GW Shimano Sidermec. And Alessio Cialone for Total Energy. They get a decent gap in the end. It would go up to 6 or 7 minutes at one stage. And as the Italian Cup rumbles to a conclusion in this next few days, be a big enough group to require quite a big chase behind up the road in this Coppa Bernochi. That's where we were. This is where we are, heading into the last couple of laps of the race. Of the 6 main riders, 5 remain. Belleri, Cialone, Monique, De Tier and Warbass. Last check, the gap was hanging around just over a minute. Looks as though they're on the 5th of 7 local laps. 1.5 minutes is the gap, as you can see. 57.5 kilometres remain. And heading up to yet another ascent pretty soon of the Piccolo Stelvio, the Caramamma climb, taking them up to 300 metres or so above sea level. Short shot climbs, the order of the day. It's an interesting race, Brian, rather like the one we saw the other day towards the end of the week, won by Davide Formolo. Got a flattish finish. Always makes for entertaining, attacking racing early on.
Yeah, when you look at the palmares of this race, it's, Evenepoel soloed to victory a couple of years ago. I think predominantly we've had a reduced group sprints, but, it's one of these races that really depends on how hard they race round this circuit in the end. I have to say that they have to say thank you to the TV motorbike for, the assistance they got right from the start for this breakaway. And also, nice to see Giuseppe Cerrone making an appearance on the podium. For you older types listening, including myself, Cerrone was, world champion in Goodwoods. He won the Giro d'Italia. Such a big rider. When I was a young boy growing up, it was himself and Francesco Moser, 2 big Italian champions.
No longer involved in the day-to-day running of UAE Team Emirates, but he's there in an honorary capacity. A 4-time winner of this race as well, Brian. So Beppe Saronni was looking very well when we saw him on the podium earlier today. Recent winners, this is the name. Ballerini last time out, Evenepoel the year before. It's been a Soudal Quick-Step property in the last couple of years. Colbrelli, Bauhaus and Nizzolo, the last 6 winners. Lots of accumulated climbing. It's been really hard for a lot of riders to dig deep and find motivation as well at this time of the season. The weather's helping though. We're having some great weather in these races. You can turn up in this particular week in Italy. It can be horrible and howling and wet and windy already. But it's lovely. Again, temperatures up there, mid to high 20s. Waiting for a shot of the peloton for the first time here, Brian. And seeing that these 5 riders are desperately trying to keep this going, and for a couple towards the back there, it's hanging on, isn't it? Belleri is there with 222 on his back for BS Carrera. This is Cialone, young Frenchman. And it is quite predictably Jumbo-Visma chasing behind. And in Wout van Aert, they've got the favourite, haven't they?
They have, and I thought you were going to ask me who would be at the front, and it was quite obvious that question, quite an easy question. We had a couple of other teams going to come up towards the front earlier on, but one of them being Soudal Quick-Step. Maybe they're trying to think of what they're going to do next year, but this year, Wout van Aert, you have to say, is a favourite. He can go over these climbs, he can sprint very well. It's like, what are the other teams going to do? And when you look at through who started, Rob, it's some teams have come here with sprinters, but some teams haven't. So the teams that haven't got sprinters have to make this as difficult as possible. But for the moment anyway, Jumbo-Visma are just happy to set this tempo at the front with Sam Oomen.
So looking at Soudal Quick-Step then, they've won the last 2 editions. How do they win this one with the squad they have? And before you answer that, I'll tell you they have Julien Alaphilippe, Andrea Bajoli, Devenine, Seri, Masnada, Schmid and Gelders are here. And just to add one more piece of information, there was an attack to try and get across to the breakaway earlier on from Mauro Schmid that was unsuccessful.
Yeah, I think it says a lot of what's happened in the race so far, that some teams wanted to be represented in the breakaway. Some you know, like Soudal Quick-Step. It's when you've got a sprinter, you just control things. When you get race money, you just control things. It's not about being part of the breakaway. So, you know, from there, we know that Baggioli can sprint a little bit from a very reduced sprint, very capable of doing that. He would just hope that he doesn't come to the finish with Wout van Aert and maybe some of the others, but I think they have to ride a very attacking race. Alaphilippe is there as well. I think what they have to do is trying to kind of whittle the group down and hope they've got numbers. I've watched quite a few of the races in UAE. Team Emirates over the last kind of couple of weeks have managed to do that. It's all about having numbers and using their numbers. Formula One, a good race solo, you know, the combination with Hershey. But I think for Soudal Quick-Step, I think they have to kind of take a leaf out UAE Team Emirates' book and maybe try and kind of whittle this group down on the circuits and have numbers there, and you know, have you know, kind of multiple attacks in the run in towards the finish.
Gaps come down with UAE Emirates still sitting in the peloton. More news on them in a minute when we welcome back our television viewers. Because there's been quite a few riders who've already left the race. Welcome back to those of you on the telly. We're approaching the final 50 kilometres of this Coppa Bernochi, the second of the 3 races that make up the Trittico Lombardo. The final in the 3-chapter series comes tomorrow at Tre Valli Varesine, just down the road in Varese. Today we're off to Legnano, and it is Wout van Aert who's being led at the front by Jumbo-Visma. Of course, all of the talk at the moment off the bike is about the possible fusion. There was confirmation at the weekend, wasn't there, that a letter of intent had been signed between Patrick Lefevere of Soudal Quick-Step and Richard Plugge from Jumbo-Visma. How is that developing? But of course, more importantly, how's everybody feeling about it? There's been a gag placed, quite understandably, over many. Won't stop the worrying, though. Let's get some reaction from Wout van Aert.
We know there's a big goal on Sunday for you, but is today already a goal too?
Yeah, I want to finish the season with a nice week here in Italy. Three nice races, 3 opportunities, and yeah, today is the first one.
And how to do it, because we know that this race is a story of sprint, but it's also a hard one. With look, what would you like? What kind of race would you like?
I think it doesn't matter for me as long as I arrive in the first group and in the final. But yeah, yesterday I saw a bit of the course and I was surprised that yeah, a lot of times there's a big group coming to the finish. So yeah, I'm curious how the race will develop.
Thank you.
Well, it's business as usual. There was a mention elsewhere that in one interview he was asked about the possible fusion, but there was saying that he wasn't worried. And of course for Jumbo-Visma, they will continue. They're a highly successful outfit looking for yet another victory here. And in terms of this race, they're up against teams who are trying to take it to them. Brian was telling our digital viewers that not everybody has taken a sprinter. One of the teams that did bring a sprinter, a very good one, UAE Team Emirates, who've been so successful. I have to say that their sprinter has abandoned the race already, Brian. Sebas Molano, victorious at the Vuelta a España, has climbed off. Another fast man, Davide Cimolai of Cofidis, has also decided to step off the bike today. Jacopo Guarnieri, lead-out man from Lotto Destiny, no longer there. Masverts from Israel Premier Tech has climbed off the bike. But they do have Corbin Strong, by the way, who's going very well, as we saw in Luxembourg the other week. But I have to say that the man who was retiring today has retired with a DNF. Mathieu Ladanius has ended his career. 11 victories, 38 years of age, and a man who, Brian, will be remembered for giving everything to his teammates. A really good, solid professional that stayed with one team for his entire career.
Yeah, there's a few, isn't there? Especially in the French teams, they stay very loyal. You know, a lot of riders, De La Place being one of them. I was commentating on the Tour de Vendée yesterday, and you know, there's so many kind of French riders stay loyal to the team, do a very good job, and you know, have long careers with the same team. Or if they do change, they change to another French team. But yeah, it's that interview from Wout van Aert. I think it says it all. It's how hard the race over. It's hard enough. This climb here, the Piccolo Stelvio. It's hard enough to break things up. but it's how hard you race up it, Rob. It's if you just ride kind of tempo up here, that's why there's been so many sprint victories in the past. But if you rip it to pieces on this climb, you're very capable of kind of splitting the peloton up. But for Wout van Aert, where can't he win? Probably the big high mountain stages. There's very few races.
He's done that from breakaways.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, yeah. But you have to look at what his weaknesses are. The big high mountains. But on these sort of courses, he's not worried. As long as he comes to the finish in the front group, that's all they're worried about.
Here we are, the Piccolo Stelvio, the Caramamma climb. Of course, Piccolo Stelvio because of the hairpins, the likeness, they say. But this is a climb that has nothing to do with the real thing. It's still difficult, though, as you can see. It's one that's ridden hard behind, and look at what is happening here to the gap. It's gone down to 41 seconds with Jumbo-Visma thinning out the peloton, something shocking, really. There's quite a few riders already who've climbed off, and this is a smaller group than perhaps we've had at some time in this race in the past few years.
Yes, it's a little bit, like a climb close to Europe from the Soleure side, the Col du Soleure. It goes up a little bit, like hairpins like that, short straights, and it's left, right, and if you put the power down at the front, it just, that elastic band effect, just, if you really go at it, it can snap in this climb because they're accelerating. You're kind of feathering the brakes going into that corner, slowing down, have to accelerate out, and the further we go up the climb, the bigger the gaps between the wheels start to be. So yeah, if they really race up this, it could cause a lot of damage. It'll be interesting to see, who does it, because Wout van Aert, he's happy just to stay here. I think Soudal Quickstep might be a team that want to really kind of crack the whip a little bit more, but let's see.
That was Hessel Imreza getting a thumbs up and okay, a well done from Jan Tratnik as he finishes his job. Wout van Aert concentrated and ready, sitting on the wheel. 27 seconds of a gap. It's now Koen Bouwman who sits on the wheel of Jan Tratnik. And Tratnik takes over.
Just look behind Rob, in about 50th place. There's a bit of a gap now, and this is what happens. We tend to get splits. Some UAE riders just at the back there. It's really not a climb that you really want to be sitting down the back and not feeling too great, because even if you are having a kind of rough period, it's a lot easier. Just make that effort, stay towards the front, and you'll get an easier ride.
We haven't seen the breakaway for a while, but here we go. We're down to 3 now. Warbass hanging on. Belleri, Bindrop, Chalona joining him. This is the Tir at the front and Monique behind. Two riders who've been in a break together before, actually, at the Vuelta a España a couple of years ago. Belleri's fighting to hang on. And that gap that you were describing, Brian, is just about coming back together, but these are all efforts that are going to add up over the course of the day. This is Koen Bouwman, Jan Tratnik. Leonard Hofstede, by the way, already climbed off. Hessel Imreza is done for the day. And now Sam Omen is the man to begin his work. Off to pastures new in the winter. His contract with Lidl Trek has been confirmed. And we enter the final 50 kilometres of this race, but there's only one more ascent of the Piccolo Stelvio to go, and if you really want to break things up, you've got the first climb on the loop that comes after this descent, then the Piccolo Stelvio, and after that there's a couple of very short, sharp climbs in the final 25 Ks, but it's mainly false flat downhill and a very, very fast run into Lignano. French champion still in this group, Valentin Madouas. Former American champion still at the front of the group. Doing a good job for his team getting out the break. And by the way, he's a man who's signed to continue with another year contract extension. He'll remain at AG Desert Citroën for next year. First ever American to ride for the AG Desert team. The Dutch dynamite here, though. It's Sam Omen. Philippe still sits there. Masnada, 2 years on from almost getting his opportunity to win a monument at the Giro di Lombardia. Out-sprinted, wasn't he, by Tadej Pogacar in his home city of Bergamo. And it's to Bergamo we'll head again on Sunday. That looked like Belleri being caught.
Yeah, there he is, sliding all the way through the peloton. These motorbikes getting very close again. You saw a couple of waves before, but 32 seconds now to the three riders in front. I think they've got absolutely no chance of staying away, but Jumbo-Visma just happy to set quite a difficult tempo. They've shed a couple of riders, but the riders they've got here, wow, is super strong.
Not much chance to take a drink, to take a breath here. There's a very short plateau over the top before they'll dive down again for the next 3 or 4 kilometres. There's a King of the Mountains prize today. And Sylvain Moniquet taking the 5 points there, but we're concerning ourselves today with the race win. It's that typical Lombardy look, isn't it? Misty in the background. Well, you never know. There was a survey that came out recently that said it had the worst air quality in the whole of Europe at the Lombardy plain, actually. Traffic always a big problem in Milan. There are days where it's a natural phenomenon with the fog and what have you, but the visibility not great today. It is a lovely sunny day though. The weather's, in terms of temperatures, very nice. Really hope it's like this on Saturday. The leaves might be starting to fall, but if we get the clear skies, sunshine and good views, always contributes to the viewing experience in Lombardia. How's the experience going to be for Julien Alaphilippe? A race that on paper you would have expected him to win throughout his career. And again, Peter Sagan retired yesterday without having won Milano-San Remo. It's not always like that, is it, professional sport? We probably wouldn't be bothered watching it, would we, if we knew what was going to happen, Brian?
No, we wouldn't. I was just looking at Tash Benoot there. He's now changed his name to Tish Benoot. The last time he must have been Movember, because he's got rid of his Tash, Rob.
Yes, maybe he's got the sponsorship. Maybe he's going to be on the advert next time you switch on the telly. This is all that's left. It's a small group. And one full lap still to go after this. We're now coming towards the end of lap number 6 of 7. 4 riders remain in support of Wout van Aert. Hofstede and Lembrez have already been used up. And this is Alaphilippe sitting on the wheel of Benoot and on the radio. Hugo Uhl just behind him. Israel Premier Tech today, we think around Corbin Strong. Marco Frigo, good young rider who's got good memories of Lombardy despite coming from the Veneto. He was in that breakaway, wasn't he? Competing for the stage win in Bergamo with Brandon McNulty, who eventually pipped him to the post at the Giro this year. And we get a sighting of Enoch Mulubrahan, Eritrean and African champion. Into the final 45 kilometres. Corratexele Italia riding today. Just want to wish Charlie Quarterman a very happy retirement. He's decided to hang up the wheels at the end of this season. He was racing today. He's climbed off his bike. I gather there will be more races before he decides to finish things. But yes, He will retire at the end of this season, so a very happy retirement to Charlie Quarterman. And Mathieu Ladagnous, very long career, has come to an end today. He's climbed off his bike. A legend of French domestique cycling. He's worked for countless teammates at Groupama FDJ. A long, long time. And a very happy retirement to him as well. But those continuing, we wonder how it's going to continue. All the talk about Soudal Quickstep. How's their main man? Let's check in with Julien Alaphilippe. Here he was talking to us at the start of the day.
Julien, déjà dites-nous comment ça va, c'est la fin de saison.
Julien, it's the end of the season. How are you?
Ouais, ça va pas mal.
Well, I'm okay.
C'était vraiment
Emilia was a nice
course,
race. It was difficult.
à Émilie, donc il m'a manqué un peu les jambes au final.
I'm ready for today.
Pour suivre les meilleurs, donc je pense avoir bien récupéré.
I'm thinking about tomorrow and Trevali Varesine.
Trevali qui va
That's a race that will really suit
je
me.
pense on n'a pas.
Today I think it'll be a sprint from a small group.
C'est quand même propice à
But we're still
un sprint, un petit
motivated.
groupe, donc on va faire ce qu'on peut et on est
We're
motivé.
going to do what we can.
Aujourd'hui, c'est plus pour tourner les jambes, donc.
Today will be a
Quand
test.
même un peu.
Pour moi, oui, je suis le seul de l'équipe
Yeah,
qui double.
today
avec aujourd'hui
I'm
et demain,
alone to
mais
be
on a
present
quand
today
même
and
Andrea
tomorrow.
Baggioli qui va vite au sprint.
We've got Andrea Baggioli. He's going to try and do a good race. And we want to finish the season
well.
well.
Terminer la saison avec cette semaine ici en Italie.
On va parler demain comme
Another
objectif,
goal.
mais
What
comme
about the
objectif,
Giro di Lombardia?
Ouais, bah, c'est une semaine
Yeah,
que
well, I
j'adore,
love this week.
avec que des belles courses. En plus,
Lots
on
of
a la
nice
chance d'avoir une
races.
super
We've got
météo, donc,
fantastic weather this year as
demain,
well.
je vais découvrir
Tomorrow I'm
Trevali,
going to
j'ai
make my
jamais fait.
debut at Trevali Varesine, so I'm
Regardez, je pense à
motivated.
la télé,
But the
donc,
big goal, of course,
Je suis motivé et puis bien
is
sûr, ouais,
Lombardia.
Lombardie, c'est le grand objectif de pas mal de coureurs pour cette fin de saison. Donc, en plus, c'est du côté que j'aime bien. On verra comment sont les jambes, mais je suis motivé à donner le
We're going
maximum.
to see how the legs are, but I'm really motivated to give
On
everything.
parle beaucoup de Soudal Quickstep.
And well, everyone's talking about Soudal Quickstep at the moment. What's going to happen?
Si j'ai bien compris.
Ouais, on sait pas grand chose.
I don't really know. It's difficult for the whole
Dans la
team.
tête de tout le monde, donc on essaie de
We're
rester
focused on the
concentré
race.
sur ce qu'on a à faire sur la course surtout et
We're waiting.
ouais, on espère que la situation va se débloquer, qu'on aura des nouvelles.
We hope that the situation
C'est
becomes clearer.
un peu chiant.
And we need some news. It's
Ouais,
very sad.
c'est triste surtout.
Yeah, it's very, very sad actually.
C'est
Soudal
l'équipe,
Quickstep's a team that's been at the centre of cycling
Depuis de nombreuses années.
for a long, long
au
time.
cyclisme avec ouais, une histoire derrière tout ça.
We've been right at the heart of it with a massive history.
Je trouve ça triste, mais
I find it sad, but well, we're not going to cry.
Faire la course et
We're not here to do that. We're here to try and be focused on the race today and hope for good news. 34 seconds, Alaphilippe following in the teammates behind as we see a change at the front, and Alpecin de Koenig come here. It'll be interesting to see once we start climbing again if they decide to make it more difficult and perhaps give Axel Laurence an opportunity. But for Soudal Quickstep, difficult of course on and off the bike, and it can't be easy to perform, Brian. You've got all that uncertainty around you. You don't know where you've got a job next year, if you're going to have a job, and of course all the other people, even if you're one of the stars, there's your mates, the coaches, mechanics, office staff. Two teams come together, we all know the reality is that there's not jobs for everybody.
It's not going to be easy at all, because as we know from many of the kind of top riders, and we have got really seriously some top riders on both sides, and you know they'll want their, like you say, mechanics, soigneurs and things like that to come along with them, you know, their entourage, and not everybody can have that situation. And you know, our team is built right from the kind of foundations of the kind of management and staff members and riders. A team is as good as everybody within that team. It's not just, you know, imagine putting Man City and Man United together, football team. There's a lot. This is what we're talking about here within cycling, and it's going to be very, very difficult. So I've done a merger in the past, which I think went well between Endura and NetApp, but it wasn't easy in who to take on board. And you know, there is one dominant side. I think the Jumbo-Visma side will be the more dominant role in this one if it does happen. But yeah, you have to feel for everybody at the moment. But regarding your question about you know, where your head's at, you know, my advice to anybody is just concentrating and you know, doing the thing that you love, and that's racing your bike. Of course, you will be distracted by things, reading things all the time, but you just have to keep focused on what you're doing. And you know, keep everybody happy and, you know, and finish well and do well here. You know, it does look as if, you know, we have got another couple of teams kind of thinking about this one. You have to think that for Jumbo-Visma, they're quite happy with this situation. If Alpecin Deceuninck and Soudal Quickstep and maybe some other teams start to kind of rip it up the last descent, then Wout van Aert, just as long as he's got a couple of teammates to kind of look after him anyway. So I think for most teams that are here that are kind of present towards the front, they're thinking of a reduced sprint finish. Same with Michael Matthews and for Jaco Alula. So they're looking for a reduced group of maybe 30, maximum 40 riders. But as we've heard from Wout van Aert, that suits him right down to the ground as well. But if you've got numbers towards the end and Jumbo-Visma only have a couple of, then there could be some maybe attacks coming in towards the final, but it's always going to be very difficult.
Talking of Wout van Aert, his programme, by the way, being today, tomorrow. But we'll put that on pause because this is Dries Devenijns. Really up in the pace. Tratnik trying to follow. Couple of riders in there for Alpecin Deceuninck, and if Devenijns is around, Alaphilippe will follow. This is the opportunity to try and test himself for tomorrow. He's just sitting now on the wheel of Mauro Schmid.
Yeah, I think just from that interview from Julian Alaphilippe, definitely Tre Varecine, a race that I rode super hard, that will really suit Alaphilippe. Today, possibly for, you know, Baggioli more than anything. I've not kind of really seen him towards the front. I would assume that would be the case, but yeah, you just use this incline, use the next Piccolo Stelvio, and you know, that really will kind of whittle down this peloton to down to maybe about 30 riders, maybe 40 riders, Rob.
Well, Dries Devenijns hanging up his wheel in a little while. Last few races for him to ride this week too. He's done a big job there, as it's now Schmid who just moves back. The breakaway has broken up, it's been caught. And it is now Mauro Schmid who takes over from Dries Devenijns. Jan Tratnik on his wheel, Alaphilippe there, but crucially, just a few wheels back. Very comfortable, looking good. It's Wout van Aert. Michael Matthews hanging on. 38 kilometres to go. The breakaway is brought back. One ascent of the Piccolo Stelvio to come, and it comes inside the next few kilometres, Brian Smith.
It does, and you know, if you're not towards the front now in this front group, what are you doing? You know, you could see that coming, you know, a mile off, that, you know, that was always going to be the case. So we have got a split in the peloton. I would think that majority of the stronger riders are here, but it's all these efforts. If you have kind of missed out and having to get teammates to kind of bring you back, like we're seeing now, it's just, you know, kind of waste of energy. It was about gaining position just before that slight descent, before we came up, and you know, we've been around this circuit, you know, we're doing it 7 times, so all the riders should know that. But Soudal Quickstep taking it to everybody. I think Alaphilippe, although he says tomorrow is a big day for him, probably more than today, but let's see what he does on the Piccolo Stelvio, because if you go from the bottom of that climb, you can do some serious damage sprinting out a lot of the serpentine corners.
That next big split just over the top there. It's happened on the last 2 climbs, hasn't it, that split? And we're seeing consistently the same riders in the front group, and it always tells you, it gives a very good indicator as to who's in it for the win today. Very pleasant part of the world, this. Just in the first few hills before you then head off up into the Alps. By the way, it's the time of year, isn't it, that we're talking about the Alps, the Dolomites. The Giro d'Italia route will be announced within the next month. The talk is of a start in Turin and another finish in Rome. Rumours of Monte Grappa, maybe of a passage over the Stelvio. We'll have to see, but it's the Piccolo Stelvio that is taken on in a moment. The climb to Caramamma, with Jan Tratnik on the front. And well, look at Mauro Schmid. He's challenging his inner Tadej Pogacar with the hair tufts there. I wonder if it'll rub off. Maybe he didn't have time to get his hair cut in Vegas.
Well, it looks like he's been sacrificed. He tried to get in the breakaway early. You already mentioned that. Wasn't successful, and now he's being called upon with his team. But a sizable group here, but I think this will split in half when we hit the Piccolo Stelvio. But like you said, Rob, most of the riders that were kind of already mentioned and teams are up towards the frontier waiting for this final ascent.
Tratnik surveys the damage, looks around. His team leader sitting fourth wheel. Tischbenot just in front of him as well. It's now Mauro Schmid who takes over again. Swiss Giro d'Italia stage winner from the gravel stage in Tuscany a few years ago. Rafał Majka is in and around Mark Hirschi. Hirschi we know in fantastic form. Meltas Fazio moving up on the left-hand side. Do not forget about him. Climber with a fastish finish. But it would have to be a more selective race, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's a few riders in that kind of bubble at the front kind of moving up, but then behind you see a lot of gaps, a lot of riders just trying to kind of save a little bit. It's not, Rob, about saving now. It's about being in that bubble. You have to be in that bubble before you hit this this final climb, because if you're kind of back there and hanging back there, then you know you're going to have gaps to close. Especially with the likes of kind of Mauro Schmid here for Soudal Quick-Step and Tratnik, you know, keeping the pressure on here. And you just look at it, it's in one line. We all know that if it's on one line, they're going pretty quick. So if you're not kind of making that effort, it's very difficult to do it now, because if you're at the back of this group, this front group, and it's all in one line, that's one hell of an effort you have to make to kind of move up. So it's moving up at the right times, and probably the opportunity to be able to do that is possibly past. You can see them starting at the front there, the kind of bunch of moving up a lot, but the riders towards the back have got absolutely no chance.
First hairpin then, Piccolo Stelvio for the 7th and final time at this year's Coppa Bernochi, the 104th edition of the race in Lombardy. Keep your eye on Julien Alaphilippe. His team working. They need to make it hard for Wout van Aert. Alaphilippe on the left-hand side, moving in front of Van Aert now, onto the wheel of Mauro Schmid. Van Aert, who had his teammate Tischbenot on the radio. His other teammate Jan Tratnik is controlling the pace here. And those who got back on after the splits are all together at the back. But for how long, Brian Smith? Because you talked about this the last time we were up. The acceleration in and out of the hairpins at the front just increases the likelihood that the elastic at some point along the line is going to snap.
Yeah, well, it did the last time as well. Jan Tratnik at the front here for Jumbo-Visma. He's just setting a tempo, trying to stop any attacks. He's quite happy with the fact that Wout van Aert is here towards the front. You've got a couple of teammates, but you know, beautiful scenes here. Maybe not if you're at the back, but you know, that elastic is really being stretched at the moment. Just look at them. You know, there's a gap between pretty much every bike rider here.
And there was a bigger gap developing about 3/4 way down. Near the front, it has to be closed behind by Paggioli. 34 kilometres to go. And getting close to the top now. Final proper climb in this race. There's a couple of lumps and bumps on the way in. This is a chance to do the damage for the last time.
I was looking at Mauro Schmid there. For riding on the flat there, I thought he was riding rather well. You know, he's staying up on Tratnik's wheel, but, you know, it just goes to show you that just a little bit too far for him now.
Now there's a little bit of a gap there that's having to be closed by Michael Matthews. J.K. Lula's leader here. He'll be a rival that many will be desperate to get rid of. There he is, just coming at the trees, blue and white jersey on. There's an Alpecin Koenig rider trying to get around him. Another gap after this group as well. And this is where the bulk of the damage is being done, very close to the top now by Jan Tratnik. And all the while, Wout van Aert sits there. Fourth wheel, that multicoloured helmet on, belongs to the very famous drinks brand with which he's associated.
It's a thing that Michael Matthews will have to weigh up now. Does he risk going into the red and trying to kind of go with his group, or does he just ride within himself and hope that, you know, a group forms behind and comes back to the front of this race. It will really depend on, I think, Jumbo-Visma here, if they want to kind of push on over the top of this climb. Oops.
Alaphilippe pulling out, looking around, trying to sit back in. Quick step rider coming across. Masnada it was. This is Madouas. There's Harper. And in this group somewhere, there he is, Michael Matthews. And a lot of riders suffering.
Baccioli looks good in third place there. Hershey is also there. Masnada, he's made a hard effort. He's just about on at the back of this group. Madouas is not going to make it. So you got a second group there by the looks of things with Michael Matthews, who could make it back to the front.
Jan Tratnik has ridden the entirety of the climb. Alaphilippe was struggling to hang on. He's just helped Masnada get in there. Baccioli sitting in there as well. We've seen that Hirschi remains in the front group. Michael Matthews is in the next group trying to come across. There's representation here for Alpecin König. We've got a rider from Astana, Kazakhstan, and from Eolo Kometa.
Only 10 riders left, Rob. But I think this second group could get back.
This is the group containing Michael Matthews, by the way. He has Chris Harper in the group to help him, who's been in fantastic form recently. A couple of riders in there too from AG Desert Citroën. They are Clément Berthet and Andrea Vendrame. Vendrame would be an interesting man. Nicola Conci, but again, hate to put the blockers on it, be a bit of a party pooper here. But we're talking about all of these riders who, on paper, aside from Michael Matthews, would you back anybody to beat Wout van Aert?
No. No, but in the past, I think it was last year, in small groups, he tends to get it wrong more times than, you know, bunch sprints. I just remember that race, was at Hamburg. He came in with, you know, a small group of four, and he got beaten. He got surprised there. So, but they've got two riders here that are super strong. You had to see Conchi there. Conchi just shook of the head there for Alpecin. He wasn't going to ride, so they rode up it really hard that time, put a lot of stress in the peloton, and now only 10 riders in front. But look, they're not going to roll into town. I think that there's some attacks going to happen from this group, but I really do think that if that second group gets their act together, there's a big possibility they can come back.
Ivan Garcia Cortina in the second group as well, by the way, another fast finisher who's riding well at the moment for Movistar, the rider from northern Spain. 20 seconds separates group 1 and 2. And it's going to be a really fast final 31 kilometres now. Most of it is downhill. And even Wout van Aert himself sharing some of the riding as other riders desperate to come across. There's Vendrame. So, Oldani's in there from Alpecin. This is Andrea Baccioli. And we're just seeing if we can get some organisation. It's not fully organised, as you might expect. Tell you there that Vincenzo Albanese is in the group, and Christian Scaroni. Albanese, of course, a fastest finisher. And this is where tactically it gets interesting. And Jumbo-Visma want to make it even a smaller group. And what was Jan Tratnik just letting the wheel go there, Brian Smith?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that there, that acceleration there. That again, I don't like kind of saying it, but you know, that was an effort there from Masnada. But the motorbikes in front of this race, behind. Yeah, they're getting in the way. They're actually helping. You know, the front of this race. It's, you know, that acceleration there, if you looked up, you saw, you know, they're all just right behind the TV motorbike there. But you feel for Vendrame now. He's made that effort, but this second group, tantalisingly close they are. But it's just these accelerations in front. There's probably about, what, 17, 18 riders in here. As you've already mentioned, Rob, a couple of good finishers. It really depends on the cohesion of that front group, and it doesn't look as if it's quite there.
Well, we saw that there, and Jumbo-Visma were happy for Wout van Aert and Tish Benoot to be in a front group. Just was started by Soudal Quick-Step riders. Here she had made it as well. And now here is Harper burying himself for Michael Matthews. On the wheel there is Davide Formolo, winner the other day. Valentin Madouas is in this group as well. Ivan Garcia Cortina can be spotted too.
I don't think Formolo is going to ride here. He's got Hershey in front. He'll be kind of happy with that situation. But there's a few other teams in here. Jonas Aguirre here, Cofidis haven't got any representation, so they kind of have to ride. It's very difficult, Rob, when you're in these situations where you've kind of hung on over the climb, you go over the other side, and you've been called upon by your team to ride a little bit, and you know your legs are bursting. But I don't think that cohesion is in the front of the group, in the Group 1. And I do think that this group has got every chance of coming back. Only 13 seconds. You can clearly see Wout van Aert happy with this situation, but it really depends on everybody else. And Mark Hershey moves over. He's not kind of interested in contributing. He is a danger in this group.
Alaphilippe riding, trying to give Bajoli the best opportunity possible. Maybe falls a split with himself in it as well. This is the chasing group at 13 seconds now. Spotted Axel Mario in there as well for Cofidis, alongside Jacopo Mosca, who is normally the domestique, but this week is riding very, very well for himself. Coppa Bernochi coming towards the conclusion in this 2023 edition. 28 kilometres remain, just 13 seconds between a strong group of 10 and those chasing on. Alaphilippe, Bajoli and Masnada representing Soudal Quick-Step. Van Aert, Tratnik, Benoot representing the other team, Jumbo-Visma. For how long it will be the other team, we don't know. There's Stefan Oldani in there for Alpecin-de-Koning. Christian Sgaroni, the Italian rider from Astana, Kazakhstan. Mark Hirschi, the Swiss champion for UAE Team Emirates. And Vincenzo Albanese, a man who's on his way to the French team Arkea next year, who, by the way, this morning have announced the signing of Florian Sénéchal for next year, who will already be joining a victorious Arnaud Demar, who picked up a win at the weekend. Arkea with some big reinforcements on the way. Finally, there's a little bit more organisation in this front group now, Brian, and the gap's grown to 19 seconds.
Yeah, Soudal Quick-Step are quite happy to ride. I think everybody has to contribute. I think for some of the other teams, maybe UAE, they've got Mark Hirschi here, and you know they've got one of their favoured riders, but he's outnumbered here. Maybe there is a chance that if Formula and I think, you know, one of the other riders there was Maika was there as well. Would there be a case that if they did ride a little bit, you know, they'd be able to come up and, you know, have numbers there? You know, a couple of other riders would help. Of course, you've got one other rider from Jumbo-Visma in that chasing group as well. So they have to look at this situation, because you have to kind of feel for the riders that don't have multiples. And you can see them, they're all trying to skip turns here. Albanese at the back, Scaroni as well for Astana. They know they're outnumbered. They know they've got teammates just behind. It's a big decision for some of these sports directors to weigh up what's possible. How do you win this race? Do you allow Mark Hirschi and Albanese just to be here on your own, or you have got riders behind? Because it's at the moment it's 3 against 3, isn't it? With Jumbo-Visma and Soudal Quick-Step, two teams hitting the headlines at the moment. So it's in the balance, but I think if it's me as a sports director was in this group, I would want to come back. I would want Formula and Maika to come back, because it gives another couple of teammates to kind of help out.
15 seconds. It's a tug of war, this. In the second group, we're reminded that Michael Matthews, Ivan Garcia Cortina are there. In terms of fast finishes, you also have Andrea Vendrame. The riders to keep your eye on: Aleotti, Izaguirre, Madouas, Formolo, as you've mentioned as well. A winner the other day for the first time in 4 years. It's the group of 9 at the front now. There was one casualty in all of that playing about, wasn't there? It was Stefan Oldani, who was shelled out of the group of 10 and is now back in the chasing group. So Alpecin Koenig have lost their man at the front. Oldani is back with Conchi in the chasing second group now.
If they continue to ride like this, Rob, they'll go to the finish. It's as simple as that. He just needs one or two riders to start missing turns like we've already seen. And, you know, that second group will be on them.
That is going to happen, though, at some point, isn't it? Over the 24 kilometres to the line, surely. It all depends on what kind of gap they've got by the time we get close to the finish. Because some riders in here don't have teammates, Brian, and they're going to start thinking about, you know, how can I win this race? And, well, hang on a minute, mate, it's a bit unfair. You've got your mate to do some of the work.
Exactly. In a small group like that, you have to think you've got an opportunity. You know, Albanese can sprint well. He just wants to try and kind of save that a little bit. You never know in a small group like this. The only problem that everybody else in that group has got is Wout van Aert, and he's got two teammates there. And the two teammates can ride the last 20-odd kilometres on the front and keep this group together.
Keep your eye on it for the next kilometres or so, because we have a very short, sharp but steep climb coming up now. We're starting it with Fausto Masnada. If you look to the base of the shot, you'll see that the chasing group has fractured. There's about 5 or 6 riders there. Looks as though it's just coming back together again. The gap's gone down to 13 seconds. Keep your eye on it as we go up the hill here, because we can see that in that second group there are riders who think that if they make the effort now, they can get across.
That's the thing, Rob. If you do make that huge effort, you're going to split this group behind. I think it's strength in numbers. If you are going to come across, you don't attack and come across in this group. You actually try and kind of ride with others. But I think that's just a natural reaction. If we hit the, you know, a small climb like this, riders will want to kind of reach out. But I think it's about staying together. For me, it's still in the balance here. If everybody contributes, then that's good. And I think they're doing the right thing here in just trying to keep riding and not kind of attack across this gap, because the attack, it will all split up. And, you know, there'll be maybe 3 or 4 riders go over the top here and they won't manage to get across this final gap.
It's getting closer, isn't it? 12 seconds, maybe down to 11 now. That was Valentin Madouas at the front in the red and white, the former Spanish champion. Yonis Aguirre, winner of a stage at the Tour de France this year, was there. These are the 9 at the front, and what a collection of 9 riders it is. Brian, only 3 out of the 9, a third of them haven't won this season. There's a lot of victories from 2023 in this front group. It's a first-class group of riders.
It is, and, you know, you'll look in the group and you'll see Wout van Aert and you'll think, how am I going to win this? But you have to believe, and you have to think that maybe I can ditch attack, but having 2 teammates there, you know, I think having Thijs Benoot and Jan Tratnik here, 2 kind of big power horses, you know, it's the same with Soudal Quickstep. Having Baggioli here, Baggioli can sprint well, we know that, they do have the numbers, but I think for the moment this is going to be an interesting run in, Rob, because you cannot skip a beat. If they do, they'll be caught by this group here. They don't want to be caught, that's clear. The chances are better being in front. But what does Mark Hirschi do? He's on his own. He can sprint a bit. None of them can sprint as fast as Wout van Aert. So do you chance that kind of last ditch move? And I don't think it's going to be possible, because by the looks of things, having 2 teammates there in Wout van Aert's case, they'll just ride the last 20 kilometres at the front and pretty much armchair ride it in towards the final.
One team who've looked to have missed out big time here with one of the informed riders, Israel Premier Tech, with Corbin Strong not in the second group, which, given recent form, is a bit of a surprise. 16 seconds again, it's gone out once more. There's Baggioli, the man that if it does come to a group, you imagine that Soudal Quickstep will want to have a go with. Scaroni is doing his best to sit on the back at the minute and get that free ride. And these are the chasers. Michael Matthews giving everything, understandably. He wants to give himself a chance. There's Nicola Conchi in the blue, Italian rider for Alpecin Koenig. Behind him, Giovanni Aleotti racing for Bora Hansgrohe. Madouas down towards the back there. 20 seconds, it's grown again, and suddenly the collaboration in the front group is much greater than that in the second group. It swings and roundabouts, this changing all the time.
And it will do all the way to the finish. I'm just really intrigued to see what Soudal Quickstep do here. They've got 3 riders. Normally you get multiples, you know, you try the old 1-2, try and kind of split this race up, but they can't. They seem to think that they're in a good position, having 3 riders out of 9, and they are. But so does Jumbo-Visma having the 3 riders. It's a difficult one for Hershey, Scaroni and Albanese being on their own, but it depends on what they want out the race. If they're looking for a podium in a good place, they've got this. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting final 20 kilometres now with this chase.
Scaroni and Albanese are 2 of the 3 riders in this group who haven't picked up a victory this year, the other being Fausto Masnada. Mark Hirschi, the man with the most wins, 7. Wout van Aert taking 4 this year. Couple for Alaphilippe and Bajoli, with Tratnik taking 2, and Benoot winning in Kurna. Inside 20 kilometres to go now. Chris Harper exchanging turns at the front with Mario of Cofidis. This now is Mosca. 27 here is Michael Gogol, Austrian rider. Aleotti back to the front. Matthews with him as well. You just see not every turn is as strong as perhaps it could be here.
No, they're doing their turn, they're doing their job, but not with any great force. And then nobody comes on the wheel of Ion Izagirre, and it breaks again. It has to be a complete chain, and the chain keeps on coming off the ring there. So, you know, all the time, you know, these guys are getting closer and closer towards the finish.
Is the group behind too big, 15, 20 riders, for it to work together properly?
These are the strongest riders, Rob, in the race. That's why they're at the front. So the riders behind, they have to have more numbers. So with 9 riders totally committed by the looks of things, maybe Scaroni is trying to kind of miss a little bit. When you've got 9 committed riders, you need, what, more than 9 to bring, you know, these riders back, or you have to ride faster. And I've just said that these are the strongest riders here in the race. That's why they're at the front. So the other riders, either 9 committed riders riding faster, but now again we've got reinforcements coming, but you can see that the team cars are being pushed in front now. So it's a real difficult situation here.
This is the group led by Israel Premier Tech, so you assume that Corbin Strong is in here.
I think this might be the 3rd group in the road by the looks of things, Rob. So this could be a group of possibly down about a minute. Or is that Colm Bowman that is in there? So it could have been kind of regrouped. Hard to think, but with 26 seconds and reinforcements coming, like I was just saying a moment ago, it needs numbers, Rob. It needs a lot of riders to start riding on the front of that kind of second group.
I'll take a rain check on the race situation for the moment, because we're yet to see if that second group has been joined by the bigger group behind. And with the cars going in front, you would suggest that the second group was still in front of them, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's the cars that confused me there, because you wouldn't put the cars in the gap if it was that small, you know, 25, 27 seconds.
These are the main names at the front. Oh, we've got a brief glimpse of what was going on there, but not long enough to tell us the story.
Good luck with that.
This is going to half a minute, though. Now then, yes, it is. The cars coming through from the big group to this group to service the riders in the second group. So you can imagine that the group behind is too far back to be of any sort of consequence at the minute, unless things change dramatically in the next few kilometres. Because only 17 to go. This group at half a minute, they need something special.
Yeah, they need complete everyone in the group. It doesn't look as if UAE Team Emirates are kind of really interested. Let's see. But it needs everybody committed to go across, and we don't have that. You know, the gap opening up to almost kind of 30 seconds now. So it does look as if the win's going to come from the group in front, but they can't kind of hang around at the moment. If it goes up towards closer to a minute, that's when this groups can start the tactical ploys about how they try and win this race.
Julia Alaphilippe arriving in some sort of form coming up to the Giro di Lombardia. As neutral observers, that will excite all of us, I think.
Especially who we've got. already.
Well, not exactly another name to add into the mix, because it's going to be a fantastic fight, isn't it? Wout van Aert, by the way, won't be racing in Lombardy on Saturday. He's going to be racing the Gravel World Championships on Sunday in the Veneto. We'll see him next in action tomorrow in Varese. .34 seconds and growing. Nowhere near enough will and organisation here. 15 kilometres. And just pulling out, and instead of that smooth through and off working together, there's gaps that need to be closed. Vendrame and Berthe there for AG Desert Citroën. Both riders giving their all for Jaco Alula, and here at the front, Soudal Quickstep really want to make this happen, don't they? Everybody does. And this looks like a 9-man team time trial. .40 seconds. Getting to the point now where you can almost call it. And there we go. Once we get to 40 seconds, Brian, the gap is big enough to get at least the neutral service car in.
Yeah, not everybody's riding this second group now. A lot of passengers. Okay, Jumbo-Visma are not going to contribute. They've potentially got the favourite and race winner in front. The interest for me now is, as soon as this gets close to pretty much a minute or goes over a minute, it's how does Soudal Quickstep play this final? Because surely they're not going to just kind of all roll in towards the finish, all 9 riders. So I would think that, you know, Baggiola can sprint, but are they thinking just of podium rather than the win, with Wout van Aert being there? So it'll be interesting to see how they play out this final. Definitely having 3 riders, they have got a real chance of winning, but unfortunately for them, Wout van Aert has got 2 teammates here to help him as well.
Got a glimpse of Geoffrey Soup doing the chasing there for Total Energy alongside a rider from Israel Premier Tech, but they were a long way back down that road. I have a feeling that Group 3 is not going to be a factor, given the fact we're now 13 kilometres from the conclusion of the race. It's Group 2 that could well be. They need a bit of a miracle here. Old Dani coming through. Already been at the front of the race. This now is Gorgel. Aleotti in the green and black, the Italian. Rider who can climb with a decent kick at the end of a race. There's Vendrame, a couple of time Giro d'Italia stage winner. Chris Harper, who's in the form of his life at the minute. And Jacopo Mosca on the right-hand side, Mr. Dependable. And that next group at 1:20. Can we officially rule them out the game now, Group 3?
Yes, 100%. You can also rule out number 2 as well. So I'm just looking at the winner coming from this group of 9, Rob.
Well, a lot of Belgian riders suffer from comparisons, don't they? Even the very good ones, especially the very good ones. Have they done what Mr. Merckx did? Well, this is one of the races that Mr. Merckx didn't conquer. Only 3 Belgian winners down the years, including Remco Evenepoel rather recently. Can Wout van Aert make this his 5th victory of the road season? He's naturally the man that everybody's concentrating on here. Don't forget about Hirschi, though, with his 7 wins this season. Bajoli, we know, likes a win or 2. He's beaten some big men in the past. Albanese has a turn of speed, doesn't he? And if the games get tactical, you could look at anybody.
The thing is, if it does get tactical, then Tratnik and Thijs just ride on the front. That's it. And they're very capable of doing that in the last, 11, 10 kilometres. So the other riders in this group, apart from Jumbo-Visma, have got an uphill task. But they believe that, you know, they've got an opportunity here. They want this gap to go up a little bit. The reason why it's not going up too much now is they're starting to think about the finish. They're not, you know, they're maybe giving 80% instead of 100% now. Of course, they want this breakaway or this group to succeed, but they're just saving that little bit for whatever is going to play out in front of us over the last 10 kilometres.
Approaching the final 10 kilometres. Talking about Eddy Merckx not winning this, I knew he'd be all over this. You can never fault him, you can never doubt him, can you? The brilliant Killian Kelly, our resident statistician. My phone pings as soon as I mention it. And he says that Eddy Merckx actually rode this once. He finished 7th. He thinks it's the race with Merckx' worst, best result. So there you go, one for you Belgian aficionados. It's all about Wout van Aert for them, though, today, we think. Tish Benoot, who won Kuurne, is in the middle there. A rangy figure in the yellow jersey. And Jan Tratnik here at the front, who's pulled an absolute blinder today. He's raced really well. And given the bad luck, well, the shocking luck he's had this season, it's very, very nice to see him riding so well. Albanese looking to say goodbye to Eolo Kometa with a victory. Just 2 career wins. The latest coming in France last year. So 40 seconds, 10 kilometres. And it's still this fast finish, despite the possibility for things to get technical. And if you look at the profile, it is still false flat downhill all the way, isn't it? There's not a metre to be climbed more.
They really are up against it. Either up against, you know, 3 strong riders from Jumbo-Visma. You know, they got 40 seconds now, 9 riders in this front group. Hershey trying to kind of dodge a little bit. I think in the best interest of, if you aren't Jumbo-Visma, the best interest of everybody just to leave it to them. And but they're continuing to ride. I just think this is helping Jumbo-Visma more than themselves for the moment anyway. For any chance of winning from this group, if you're not Jumbo-Visma, it has to be a kind of tactical run in towards the finish. It has to be that kind of finessing, something we kind of look at on track racing rather than on the road. But it has to be some of that kind of finessing around and a little bit more tactical. If that does play out, then, you know, all it needs is Tratnik and Benoot to ride on the front for the last few kilometres.
Oh my word, what on earth's happened there? Rider down from Alpecin to Koenig. It looked to me, well, there were 2 riders in there, weren't there? There was Gogol and Oldani. Just in the front, I was about to mention there had been a little bit of a game or two starting in this front group. The wheel was let go again by one of the riders from Jumbo-Visma, and it meant that Albanese had to close it down. Here she was caught out behind, and Van Aert was desperate for it to continue up the front. It was closed by Albanese, and again that just taps away at his reserves, doesn't it, in case of any sprint.
There's a few good sprinters in there. They must be super confident if they think that, you know, they've got that opportunity of beating Wout van Aert. Of course, it has happened in the past. But the riders here, Albanese, Baggioli, all day long, I'd be putting my money on Wout van Aert. Even Hershey's got a good sprint, so it's what you want to get out of this is a podium. You always want a chance of kind of winning. Anything can happen in the last kind of throws of the dice. But you think that if it does get tactical, then, you know, Jumbo will just control this for a sprint. You know, I'd love to see it getting a little bit more tactical, but, you know, the closer we get to the finish, then, you know, it's looking odds on. The favourite of this race coming in is still the favourite now.
Here she closing the gap this time. But notice the rider caught out behind for Jumbo-Visma. This is Baggioli leading him around the corner, followed by Benoot. Alaphilippe and Masnada close to the front too. It's Tratnik now who takes it up. And the latest little split has been closed this time by Hirschi. 56 seconds now. Brian called it a while ago, but I think we can say it's official. It's coming from this group, 7 kilometers to go. Group 2 are fighting for 10th place. There's probably only one man or two pretty happy about that in that group chasing on. Sam Oman will be the one who inside will be saying job done. Of course, he has 3 teammates in the front group.
So some strong turns here from Masnada here. Julian Alaphilippe just happy to ride. Surely they know that, you know, the gap is close to 1 minute. They can afford to have a look at their options. Are they super confident and Baggioli can beat Wout van Aert? I'm not too sure, but yeah, 6.4 kilometres to go. It is 1 minute now. We might see them starting to kind of finesse a little bit. I know if I was Scaroni, I would. Albanese as well. Every right, Hirschi. And try and kind of play Jumbo-Visma and Soudal Quick-Step off against each other. But now you can only think that Tratnik, he can just ride on the front for the last 6 kilometres now. He's riding strong enough to be able to do that and just kind of try and stop any attacks happening.
Into the final 6 kilometres of the opening day of what is set to be a fantastic week of racing in Italy. The Autumn Classics coming to a head this weekend. Giro di Lombardia on Saturday will be the final monument of the season. We race today here in Legnano. Tomorrow we go to Varese. On Thursday is a quick trip across the border into the next province and region of Piemonte. And Saturday the big one. Well, we hope the leaves won't be falling yet. But the Classica delle Foglie Morte, always providing entertainment and drama. With 5 kilometres to go, 9 riders in the front, including Wout van Aert, Julian Alaphilippe and a few others. Let the games begin here. It could get tactical, but you have to say that Van Aert, on paper at least, has to be the favourite. After all that's been said off the bike, you could have scripted this one. 3 from Jumbo-Visma, 3 from Soudal Quick-Step, plus a few other passengers, and maybe a party pooper in the shape of Mark Hirschi. How's it going to go? 1 minute and 5 to the next group. They're out the game. The win comes from these guys. And it's Coppa Bernochi for 2023, the 104th edition, that's up for grabs. Second in the Trittico Lombardo, the second of 3 races in Lombardy that concludes tomorrow with Trevalli Varesine. This is Jan Tratnik, Slovenian star. A couple of horrible injuries this year that's forced him to miss big appointments. He came to the team to help his mate Primož Roglič. Roglič in the last few days has confirmed he's leaving the team. His future might also be up in the air. We'll have to see. For now, though, one thing's certain. Everybody racing for their current teams. Everybody racing for their own opportunity. And a big, big chance awaits. There's a chat there between the two Belgians. Benoot and Van Aert. The final plan is coming together, Brian.
Well, they're talking about it, just leaving Tratnik on the front. A gel been taken by Hirschi. Not too sure how much that'll help in the last kind of 4 kilometres. It's only going to be a 5 minutes effort now, but you know, an attack now from Benoot, an acceleration. I was going to say Scaroni, just let that wheel go and see what happens.
And it is Tish Benoot who goes out the front. Wout van Aert is going to chase. It's Baggioli, the principal chaser. And of course, Baggioli will be followed as the fast man from Soudal Quick-Step by Wout van Aert. Question is behind. Does it create another gap or two? Does it reduce the size of the group? Let's see. So it was Benoot that came to the front. Keep your eyes on Tratnik a bit further down. Is it going to be Jumbo-Visma who try to play with the opposition? Tratnik starts to move up.
Yeah, they're going to ride now. They're just going to ride together. right in towards the final, and you know, Wout van Aert is odds-on favourite here. Can't see anybody, you know, trying to try something here, Rob. I would be very surprised, because they were just going to shut it down straight away.
This is cycling, Brian. Let's be surprised.
Well, I hope you're right, but I can't see at the moment. I thought it would have happened, you know, a little bit further out. Just see something. Not unless that merger has already happened between Soudal and Jumbo. But it's a difficult one to see where, you know, the other riders, apart from Wout van Aert, are going to win from.
2.3 kilometres to the line. Side around the roundabout. Here we go, behind the motorbike. Chance to go. That's something that developed. And an opportunity to attack. And of course, Julien Alaphilippe is going to take that opportunity. That's his style. That's how he races. It might not happen, but he will go down trying.
Yeah, of course. This is what we want. We wanted it to happen a little bit further out. You know, just going round the left of the roundabout there was enough acceleration from Alaphilippe. He's been brought back. Jan Tratnik's job is just to bury himself in the last few kilometres here, and that's what he's doing. Wout van Aert is just sitting back. I think the key now is who's going to get the wheel of Wout van Aert. For the moment, it's Albanese.
Albanese in the light blue for Eolo Kometa. Albanese, who's not won yet this season, but is impressed enough to move up next year to the World Tour. Approaching the final kilometre now, and Tratnik's on the radio.
Yeah, just watch Hershey. He was kind of holding back a little bit there, whether he's going to try a kind of surprise move. But yeah, it's hard to see Wout van Aert being beat here. But we might have a bit of a surprise from the back, Scaroni. But it's just the tempo's just too high at the moment.
That's that for Tratnik, you feel, as we come into the final 900 metres. No, he's going to sit back in the line. It's now Alaphilippe who takes over as they come under that Flamme Rouge. Final kilometre then. And chance to really fight for it. 800 metres to the line. Alaphilippe who accelerates. Benoit is on his wheel. Third wheel there is Wout van Aert. Bajoli was moving up, trying for a piece of the action. Tratnik is now off the back, and we're down to 8. It's Julien Alaphilippe. And look at Bajoli, almost fighting Albanese there for that back wheel of Wout van Aert. 700 metres to the line here, and it's the lead out now from Tish Benoit. We can see the finish line ahead. It's a long, wide, straight boulevard with Coppa Bernochi up for grabs. Only 3 Belgian winners ever. The last time it was Remco Evenepoel. Can Wout van Aert do it here? Evenepoel's team has won the last 2, and it's Soudal Quick-Step in it now with their main man Bajoli. Around the corner, final couple of 100 metres, and it's about to be launched, and it is launched. It's Wout van Aert at the front on his wheel and trying to get around. You can see Albanese behind. It's Bajoli here though on the right hand side, and the white comes here. She on the left, it's Albanese, but nobody at all can compete with Wout van Aert. It's business as usual for Jumbo-Visma, despite all the talk off the bike. Delight for Tratnik, who played a big part in making that happen. It's a 5th victory of the season for Wout van Aert. Number 64 for Jumbo-Visma. And while we all wonder in what guise they will operate next season, who with, who without, for now, they continue to do what they do best, Brian, and that is win bike races.
Yeah, it seemed quite easy in the end. I just thought that Wout van Aert went quite early there. You know, it's a little bit closer than what I expected, but a nice podium there for Albanese. It looked like Bajoli rounded up that podium, but it just seemed all too easy for Jumbo-Visma, not kind of running. Nobody trying to kind of do anything until it was a little bit kind of too late, but not a lot you can do when you've got a couple of strong teammates with you. So well done, Wout van Aert. Another win.
Wout van Aert, Vincenzo Albanese, Andrea Bajoli. And behind, oh look, an opportunity to get someone else in the top 10 maybe. Ullmann is there, but it's a big group attacking behind. Here's Jon Izagirre. Always a fighter, always a man who likes to get his face on the telly. Matthews is there, Garcia Cortina's there. And it looks as though it's Michael Matthews who just about gets ahead of Garcia Cortina. But it's Aguirre who was on this side, just pipping them to the post. That's one up, a rare one up on the sprinters for Yonis Aguirre. But this man, he's a sprinter, he's a rouleur, sometimes even a climber.
Yeah,
it's Wout van Aert.
that result, and it will look as if Jon Izagirre won the bunch sprint.
Top teamwork for Jumbo-Visma. A lot of talk about what's being said, what the feelings are, what the thoughts are. Well, this man you'd expect to be the least affected by any worries, and it showed on the bike. He was able to ride to his ability, and in the end he was far superior on the day. Wout van Aert wins Coppa Bernochi. And here it is, Tish Benoot leading him out. As you say, going maybe from a little while out, but they didn't really get close. It was only when he thought about celebrating that we saw Albanese coming around.
That was a good sprint there from Albanese. Quite easy. Hershey looking in fourth. Look, I may have picked kind of the bones out, the kind of run in, and the lack of anybody trying to do it. When you've got somebody like Tratnik riding on the front at that speed, it's very difficult to do. You could have left it all up to Jumbo-Visma and just said, look, you try and do it and try and do something about it. But such a strong team performance today by Jumbo-Visma, it was always very difficult, and I really don't think that Baggioli and Albanese helped each other out. I did say that the wheel to be on was Wout van Aert, and they were in the wind. They were kind of pushing each other in the wind, trying to get that wheel. And okay, they're on the podium, but by the looks of things, that's what they were possibly looking for in the end. Good crowd at the finish there. Good picture.
Northern Italy and it's bike racing. Brian, they love it.
They're all on the road instead of behind the barriers.
Here's the winner.
Everybody say you win, and you now are the winner. How exciting is the win to Bernochi Cup?
It's a nice feeling, especially after the season where I missed out quite some occasions on the win. So it feels nice to raise the hands again, and especially with the team performance we did today.
And there is a dedication for this victory.
Sorry?
There is a dedication for this victory.
Yeah, maybe I want to dedicate especially this victory to the people who keep on believing in me, my family, my trainer Mark, and of course my team. I mean, today all 7 guys on the start line were committed to control the race, and this we did until the very end. So it feels really good to finish it off.
Now another race in Italy, the last race in Italy, and for the next season you have the project.
Yeah, I think it's 2 more races for me this season, and first I focus on this. Looking forward to some rest also, and try to improve myself again towards next season. But my head is still in with the races that are coming now.
Okay, thank you.
Those races on the way start tomorrow already. Tre Valli, Varesine, and then Gran Piemonte on Thursday. Here in Legnano, Wout van Aert has become the winner of the 104th edition of the Coppa Bernochi. He's beaten Vincenzo Albanese and Andrea Baggioli.
Vittoria di Wout van Aert, secondo Albanese, terzo Baggioli.
Today's race began with 7 riders in the break, soon became 6 and then 5 once the television camera started rolling. Warbasse, Tatir, Monique, Belleri and Cialone were left. And very soon, once Jumbo-Visma continued to up the pace, they would be brought back. The breakaway was done with 38 kilometres to go. Larry Warbasse, the last to be absorbed. Mauro Schmidt doing the absorbing. Alaphilippe was always busy at the front. Wout van Aert was never far from the front. And the race continued to split. And it split definitively over the last ascent of the Piccolo Stelvio. Masnada getting the last ticket across. Initially, there were 10 riders at the front. One would be dropped, though, with the first playing around. That would be Stefano Aldani. And despite an effort to chase, they got down to about 7, 8, 9 seconds. But then the gap would grow again. Tischbenot, Jan Tratnik in particular working hard. Soudal Quickstep contributing and helping. And despite the best efforts of the likes of Michael Matthews, there would be no bringing them back. Once down to 9, this was the scene. Mainly Jumbo-Visma, mainly Soudal Quickstep, but nobody chipping in at times. Third group on the road was a minute and a half behind with 18 Ks to go, so crossed off the list of possible winners. The only really tactical move came from Tischbenot. He attacked. That with 3.5 Ks to go, but it was shut down quickly by Bajoli. Maybe blunting the sprint a little bit. But on paper, it was always going to be Wout van Aert who was most people's favourite. 29-year-old from Herentals, looking for win number 44 of his road career. 5th of 2023. And once the lead-out started, Alaphilippe relinquishing the front. Benot doing the leading out. 2 riders fighting for the wheel of Wout van Aert behind. They will be the podium finishers, Albanese and Bajoli. But at this moment, after great work by Tratnik in the final 10 Ks, and after the lead out from Benot, it'll be his compatriot, Wout van Aert, who once he saw the finish line, decided he was taking the victory. So much uncertainty about Jumbo-Visma and Soudal Quickstep. But of course, the forever certain look on the road. Jumbo-Visma, they are winning machines. 64 victories for the team in 2023. Victory then for Wout van Aert. A pre-race favourite pulls it off. So with a win for Van Aert, an opportunity for us to get some reaction. We've already heard from the winner. What about the opposition, though? Here's Julien Alaphilippe speaking to Antoine Plouvin.
C'est bon pour le direct, ça. Non, ça allait, les jambes, je suis content.
Well, it looks you good. I'm happy.
Ouais, avant le départ, on voulait jouer
Before the start,
Andrea Bajoli.
we wanted to play the Bajoli card.
Dans une bonne situation,
and we found ourselves in a good situation
to
try and do that. We knew it was going to be difficult because Van Aert was there. But hey, we did, I think, the best that we could today.
Vous avez quand même tenté un peu dans le final, mais il n'y avait vraiment pas d'espace pour tenter quelque chose.
Well, we tried to do something. I didn't want to have any regrets, but I felt
un peu dur et ouais, Jumbo était encore avec 3 coureurs.
Not amazing today.
Mon Tratnik qui roule fort sur le plat, donc
fantastic, wasn't he? He's great on the flat.
Pas de regret, je pense.
Merci Jean.
No, we can't have any regrets today. Fair assessment, Brian, from Julien Alaphilippe there?
Yeah. When you get numbers like 3 and, you know, riding for Bajoli, he's there. You can try and kind of play the tactical card, but in all reality, and I think we said it as well, that the way that Tratnik was riding all the way in just kind of stopped any of that sort of stuff happening until it was a little bit too late.